Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think we'll get her started.
Do it.
We'll get her started. Welcome in. Welcome. Is this your first podcast ever as a guest?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't I don't really know how this is gonna go. So
We'll just kind of chat it out like two buddies that we are and
yeah,
see where it takes us.
yeah.
Um, for the listeners, welcome to Fletch podcast. I think this is episode 3. I feel like I'm gonna do a really bad job when we get into like double digits and triple digits of remembering which one. And um, my goal is to be like, record and post, because like there's people that are like, oh, we're gonna record it, today being, October 23rd. We're gonna record it today, but we're not gonna post it until like November 12th, and it's like then your numbers get all screwed up. I'd really like to not have to deal with that.
Don't I got your back. Don't worry. I got
Oh, you got to memorize episode 3.
yeah. Yeah.
So sweet. Yeah. So the theme of this episode is um, Tanner and I both got does out of the same tree on Saturday. Video is live on YouTube, so you can catch my side of it. I had some more footage on a GoPro. Some settings on the GoPro were off, and they just didn't work in editing. It just wouldn't encode properly. So gonna fiddle with that, and hopefully have some more camera angles and more action shots. During the hunts. But yeah, we got a tree, or we got a tree. We got does out of the same tree.
Mm-hmm.
Here, public land, outside, just outside of Nashville. Um, I really want for your side of it. I want to take it like way back. I want like brief introduction, who you are.
Yeah.
I want it from like because you're pretty fresh to the archery world, and so I feel like the story isn't going to be a 20-year long story and it's going to take us 5 hours to get through.
Yeah.
Being mostly fresh, like what got you into it, what got you to the next step and the next step, and then obviously it leads to your first archery kill.
Well,
So,
the true answer to those questions is you. Um so I mean I you knew this. Justin and I we went to high schools in the same league. We played baseball against each other in high school. He was 2 years older than I was. Um, knew of each other, whatever. So Justin actually coached at the school that I went to, that I played baseball at in college. So that's kind of, I was still living in the area, and we'd kind of like connected through recruiting, and then just kind of became buddies after that. But growing up in Colorado, I had done a lot of mountain hunting, and most of it was rifle. So never picked up a bow until Justin and I met. He kind of just was like, "Hey, like it's pretty fun. It's much more challenging, I think." So I just 3 years ago, I just went up to Hayes, Kansas, which was about 2.5 hours from where we were at. Bought a bow there, got back home. 3 days later, one of the cams was cracked. Actually, I think it was probably like a day later. I noticed. I was freaking out. I was like, just freaking out. Ended up having a picture of it from the shop, which like I didn't know what I was looking for really. Like I knew the super basics going into it, but I had a picture of it in the shop and it was cracked when I bought it. So I like ended up taking it back, getting a refund from Bear Archery, bought another one, and then this one that I currently have, I don't know, 2 months after I had some strings were fraying real bad because they were rubbing. Well, they strung it wrong, so they should have been crossed, like this, but they were crossed like this, and then they were rubbing. Justin was actually the one that picked that up, so didn't have great luck. Whatever. But this is my third season hunting with a bow. Last year when we moved out here, it was like first time I'd ever been in a tree, first time like really hunting intensely with a bow. So it was all very new to me last year, and like a lot of learning experiences. Going in to like early spring this year. We didn't really do a ton of scouting last year, more e-scouting than anything, just finding um, public ground around here that was like halfway decent. A
Hmm.
lot of the stuff in the greater Nashville area is um, extremely overhunted, and especially the units that are these WMAs that allow rifle hunters. When rifle season opens, it's like you hear about the Orange Army. It's like very real. Like our first weekend out last year was like the equivalent to the weekend that just passed. So it would have been the 19th and 20th of October. I think that was like one of the first times we had got out. Um, but the second time we had got out was muzzleloader opener. So we went down south and it was muzzleloader opener down there, and it was a freaking war zone. Just like bang bang, choo choo
Yep.
train all over the place. And then like there's Elmer Fudd walking through the forest. He's just like creeping along, and you're just like, what the hell
Yeah.
are we doing here?
I had a small buck get busted out by a guy.
Yeah,
He was like 20, the deer was like 25 yards. He was kind of walking a tree line, and I saw the buck over here and the hunter over here, and they were bound to meet, and the guy's walking with his muzzleloader, like you said, Elmer Fudd, just walking
literally.
through, looking for
Yeah,
deer, and then next thing you know, the buck's gone, the hunter's there. I give him a whistle, like, "Hey, man,
yeah. What are we
thanks."
doing? And he's like, did you see that buck? He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, no shit. He's
yeah.
gone now.
He was 10 steps from broadside. Like
Yeah,
he was 10 shots from a shooting lane. Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
but
So we had a lot of that even around where we hunt last year. So this year we were just it's early, it's been hot. And Justin had mentioned in YouTube videos and even on here that we had done a lot more scouting this year and the weeks leading up to opening weekend, like we had these bucks like pretty patterned for where we were hunting because there were beans planted and they were still green, so they're in fields feeding. So
yeah.
they're not looking for acorns yet.
That was our primary food source, like without a
Yeah,
doubt. Like
yeah,
all the deer in the area were hitting it. I mean, there was a bunch of different parts of the fields and like sections of it, and it seemed like every field you went into, there was at least like a handful of deer. So it
yeah,
seemed like every deer in the area was really hitting those fields.
yeah. So we were like pretty dead set on a couple spots that we wanted to go. We had kind of scouted where they'd been coming in and out of these fields, um, like where we could catch them moving from, bed to food and like to water. And then that first hurricane, we ended up getting, I don't know, 5 inches of rain that weekend, something like that. And it just like threw everything off. Like opening day, it was just wet all day long. It just like drizzle, rain. And we couldn't really like shake it. I saw the first hour of opening morning, probably 4 or 5 does within like 50 yards. Didn't have a shot at any of them, but it was like, okay, well, they're still moving. Maybe because we were in trees in the actual woods, like not really hunting fields in the morning. Our plan was let's see if we can catch them moving to food or in between food and bed in the morning, and then we'll catch them going from bed to feeding in the afternoon. So we end up um, like I saw a pretty decent 8 point at like 280 yards in one of the fields we were hunting. That was really it. And then Justin had met a guy, and he just like blows into town, shoots a deer, blows out. Like he just moved here from Utah, pulls up like I think sunset opening day was like 6:50 or something like that. He pulls in. I watched him back into the parking lot or the parking area at like 4:30. He walks in, sends Justin a text at like 5:30, sees his first like 8 point. But this is, I'm talking like maybe a 75-inch 8 point. Like it's the smallest 8 point I've ever seen in my life. And then we get down at like 6:30 because it just starts to rain. And we're just like, screw it. It's just miserable out here. We've been wet all day long. Like I was getting down, Justin was planning on getting down, and like I'm like packing my platform up. And he's like, "Oh, he just shot a buck." I'm like, "Sick." This guy showed up 2 hours ago, and like we had been at hard at this for like weeks and like months, and like it's just aggravating. But that's public ground for you. So yeah, I mean, we uh we found this spot. It was weekend before Turkey, in April. We were just kind of out and about, like, hey, let's go scout some deer, see if we can find some sign, because like we didn't really like put too many hard like miles on, like boots to the ground. Like last year was like, well, I'm just gonna try this spot. Let's try this
Yeah.
spot. Like, let's see what we see here.
Yeah, we were looking at
So
topo maps and just
yeah,
general like tree cover and things like that. We were looking like Onyx is pulling up like where are the oaks at, and it's like oaks are freaking everywhere. So
yeah,
okay, what looks really thick and might be nice for deer to bed in? Everywhere. Okay, what about this, that, and like we tried everything, all e-scouting, and it's like, well, we get into a spot and it's like, well, we saw a deer maybe, and that was it.
yeah,
And yeah, so it was like scout as you go last year, and it was not very fruitful.
yeah. So what piqued my interest in this spot was one of the last sits that we had last year was we were backed up, like we were at the base of a hill, and at the top of the hill were people's backyards. And this was like you had sat this area a few times,
Much
and
farther
then
down.
yeah, and I had like one of my last sits last year. Um, like we saw a doe come down at like 5 minutes before sunset or last light, and just based on the sign that we saw, and then like for what you had seen weeks prior to that, we had a chance where it's like it's been a few months since people have been in here and hunting, and like these deer haven't been really pressured that much. So like we were like, let's just go back and see what we see. Well, we walked up on the area that we sat in on Saturday, and like we get to this clearing. First thing we see is a camera up there. We're like, all right, well, somebody knows about this spot. Um, and then like we're kind of looking around, and this camera is set up on like where two trails meet, two deer trails meet. And so we were just kind of walking around. There's a little bit of like water up here, and like we see deer tracks crossing this creek in like water. So I had my camera with me. I put mine up there. Like we kept moving along, whatever, and then we actually ended up finding a pretty nice shed up there that was probably from last year, maybe a little older. Um, saw lots of good sign up there. We're just kind of like, all right, well, maybe this would be a good place to go, like early rut, middle rut, like when it starts to get cold out. So that night, like an hour before sunset, like I've got like 15 does on my camera, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of what we figured, based on all the tracks that we saw and sign, whatever up there. And then my camera died after that, like just completely quit working. So, but we knew that there were deer up there, and then we went up there again. I think, oh, when was that? It was in July sometime, I believe. We had another buddy go up with us, and we went up and looked in this area and just kind of walked around, and we actually ended up stumbling upon a trail up there that was like, oh, this is good to know that this is here because it's easier to access in and out.
Walking trail, not deer
Yeah,
trail. Yeah, like
yeah, yeah,
human trail.
yeah. So, turns out there's actually two of them that I didn't know about the other one, but
Yeah.
Justin did. Anyway, so we've kind of been stumped the last few weeks. Like I said, I think It's been 3 weeks now since opening weekend. Um, so last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I guess now, I went up on a Sunday. I was like, just got into like some pretty bad poison ivy that the weekend before that. So like, I'm like just rash everywhere, like still have it.
Right.
So I'm walking in and it's warm. It's like 70, high 70s, which like when you've got a pack full of stuff and you've got your sticks and your platform, it's like you're warm and I'm sweating. And I get down closer to this creek crossing and it's just like mosquito,
Ton of bricks.
mosquito, 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 mosquito. Just like, and all of a sudden, like I'm walking up this trail up to this spot and like I am covered in mosquitoes. Like my thermocel's not working, like it's not doing a damn thing. And like I am like borderline having a panic attack because I have so many mosquitoes on me, like just smacking the shit out of myself, like itching already from poison ivy. Now I've got mosquito bites all over me. Well, I'm walking and like one of the like I stop, take my pack off, and I'm like trying to shake these mosquitoes off, and it's just like not getting better. And I'm like walking around, whatever, and just like kind of like trying to like find somewhere to like hang out for a minute, And I end up seeing a scrape, and it's super fresh. Like it still has, like he just pissed in it like 10 minutes ago, maybe. Like the dirt was super wet, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna see if I can set up here somewhere, and like maybe the mosquitoes will go away. No, didn't happen. I just flat out just said screw it. I'm 15 minutes from the house. I'm out of here. Like I am leaving. So packed up, and then Saturday rolls around, and um, Justin and I were well. He had hunted earlier that week at his super secret spot that only him and I really know about, where like he's seen some really good deer down there, and like I'm not going to give any more details because somebody could figure out where it is pretty easily. But yeah, he's been seeing some good bucks in this spot. So and I'm like amped to get out because like he's seeing good deer and like seeing a lot of deer. He's been out. So Saturday afternoon rolls around and I was just kind of like him and I had talked when I had just parked and he was about to be on his way and I was like I'm just gonna walk back like I'm gonna walk around kind of just like see what I see. If I find somewhere I really like I'll just set up there. Like I was thinking about setting up on that scrape that I found. Um, I ended up dropping all my stuff except for my bow and just kind of like walking around like very um like sneaky and quiet and just like trying not to disturb the peace too much. So walking around I ended up stumbling upon like three or four other scrapes up there. So I was like, okay, I mean the deer are here. So I was like, I'm gonna go get my stuff and figure out where I'm gonna sit because at this point it was like 2 o'clock. So we're getting to the time where like I need to be set up and be ready for the hunt this afternoon because Justin and I both like getting in, like it's pretty early, whether it's the morning or the afternoon, just to kind of let the world calm down a little bit. Um, so I'm walking and I end up bumping two does like 35 yards from me. I'm like, not that big of a deal. It's still early. Like I know there are other deer in these woods other than those two deer, so like I'm not terribly worried about it. Get my stuff. I'm walking to where I'm going to set up. Well, I bumped like three more does. I'm like I trying to be so quiet, and then get up to this spot, and I'm like I couldn't really figure it out. And Justin knows very well that I'm very indecisive when it comes to like my setups because like I'm very meticulous. Like I want everything to be perfect. Like I want this, that, and the other thing. And like Saturday, I was like, look, this spot where you've seen, like, that have been deer there. So why not just go sit? So I was like, well, I'll just go where my camera was. So I end up going to the crossing that I had pinned on Onyx, get up there, and I'm like looking around for a tree. Like, I'm not going to be too picky. Like, just find somewhere that, like, you can get a lane on where it looks like that they're traveling. And, like, I just kind of look up and literally the perfect tree. Like
Yeah.
this is the perfect tree for like if you had a climber, like even like a ladder stand. Like absolutely it's like a freaking telephone pole. Like perfectly straight, was probably 12 inches in diameter, like a dream.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, so I'm kind of this is when I started to get a little bit meticulous with it, and like I set my stuff down and was like trying to figure out where like I want my easiest lanes to be. And it's like it wasn't didn't take very long because like where I set up, like where I was facing was basically like there is nothing over here, but everywhere this way is like shootable, which is like from what I understand what you want as a saddle hunter. So like your dominant side, your left side if you're a right-handed shooter, your dominant side, your right side if you're a left-handed shooter. So like majority of the deer activity from what you could see was to my left, and then the creek crossing where this doe ended up coming across was kind of like I would say like back over my left shoulder a little bit because I
Yeah,
ended
like
up shooting her.
6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So like I ended up shooting her kind of turned like this. So I get set up, whatever, and I'm like just kind of like being a freaking bonehead. Like I'm usually like I want to get up as fast as I can, get set up as fast as I can, like go 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 go. So like I get my bow up, get it set up. I at least have an arrow knocked, which is like thank God. Like barely have like my pack hung up, and like I don't have like my freaking rangefinder is buried in one of my pouches on my saddle. Like I'm just kind of in la la land because I'm just like, well, it's still early, so I'm not like I'm just kind of sitting there being quiet, you know. And I hear something behind me, and I'm like, oh, squirrel. Like, oh no, that's not a squirrel. So she comes walking in, and like this is kind of like where I walked in at. So I'm like, well, I hope she doesn't like end up smelling me.
Hmm.
Thank God for the scent killer. Shout out. But she gets, I don't know, she's probably 35 yards at this point, and I'm like sitting there, like looking at her. I'm like, I don't have my rangefinder. Like, I am not ready, like at all. So I'm like silently panicking. I'm like trying to get down into my freaking pouch, like pull my rangefinder out as quietly as possible, like get my bow off the hanger and like get my poop in a group because I am like completely out of it. So I end up like, she stops for a second and is like nose up. I was like, well, shit, she's gonna bust for sure. And she like ends up like nose up and then just like, wow, whatever. Keeps walking. So she's walking and I'm like, I take my rangefinder and just range where she's gonna cross. Like I know she's gonna cross the creek where like I figured she would. So I zapped that. It was 17 yards. And I was like, all right. I looked down at my sight because I have a slider. So single pin. When I first started shooting, I had, I think it was a 4 pin maybe, and I hated it. Hated it. Like growing
Wasn't it
up, shoot.
like a ready to hunt package where like it
Yeah,
came with that? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That and the whisker biscuit. Whew,
It
horrible.
wasn't it wasn't name brand Whisker Biscuit. It was like an off brand.
Trophy
I
Ridge.
think, yeah. And so like that one was, it was just different.
It was
So many
horrible.
issues. That
So
that
many
bow
issues.
has given you fits.
Yeah, and it. Anyway, I'm like I typically what I do, like, and of course this is the one time I don't do it. Like when I get set up, like my site has its unlock and locking system. So like unlock it to slide it where it needs to go, and then lock it when you want it, like when you have it set. So I like didn't have it unlocked. I looked down and I thought it was at 25. And I said, okay, well, I can make that adjustment if she's like within 8 yards. Like I can just shoot kind of low. Well, it was set at 35 because the last setup I had, like I had good lanes at like 35, and it's like I can adjust from there. And so, like where she's coming in, she's like quartered to me like hard, like almost maybe more than like actually quartered to me from where she came, and I was like, this is gonna be pretty tough. But like, I was more shooting straight down on her, so I was like, I like, it's gonna be hard to mess this up unless I hit like straight spine. So like, end up shooting. Like I hear like I've never shot a deer before with a bow, so like I only know the sound and like just what other hunters have said from like YouTube videos. It's
Mhm.
like you hear the pop, or it's kind of like almost like a suction cup like coming off of a wall a little bit. So like a shooter, I hear that and I'm like, holy shit, like holy shit. So I watch her run, and she runs back across the creek and then like directly away from me. So like I can see her running. Like she wasn't like crazy to get out of there. So I was like, I think she's hit pretty good. And then like I just kind of like didn't hear anything because like she was running in crunchy leaves. So I hear her running, like don't hear anything for a second, and then I just hear like a rustling. I'm like, I think she just went down. So like during all this, like I like am so like in shock, and like my adrenaline's running. Like the only thing I can like truly remember from like the time that I drew back and like the time that like the last time I saw her was looking at her through my peep, and like
Mhm.
and then the sound that it made. Like that's it. Everything else was like, what the fuck just happened?
Blur. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm sitting there and probably, I don't know, 2 minutes has gone by, and I'm just like, hmm. And then I'm like, oh shit. I was like, I should probably fucking text somebody and like tell them like, hey, I just shot a freaking deer. So like you were walking up at this point, and I knew that like you were at least close. So I was like, I didn't call because I knew that you were walking. Like I probably should have, but I was like, look, he's walking up here. Like I don't want him to answer the phone and be like, what the fuck do you want? You know? But I'm like, I I text him. I'm like, I just shot a doe, and it's like the most nonchalant text. It's like no exclamation points. Like just shot a doe, and then I text Emily like right after, and then you called me, and I was like, I'm like, oh my god, oh my, oh my, like just like freaking out, and then I was like, didn't really realize that at the time. My bow was back on the hanger, and I was like, while I was on the phone with Justin, I looked at my sight. I'm like, my sight's set at 35, and she was at like 10 yards. I was like, should I be worried? He's like, I don't think so. I was like, okay. Like, I don't see the arrow. Like, I don't see anything. Like, I'm like looking through my binoculars for my arrow, like looking for blood on the ground. Like, I can't find anything.
Yeah.
And it's also because when I look through my binoculars, I have to have these off. So, like, I can see, I can't see. And, um, like, he comes walking up and whatever. He's like kind of walking, and I just kind of point where she was, and he went over, and he's like, he gives me a thumbs up, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, I, I've never done this before. So I was like, can you see the arrow? He's like, it's right here. Like, can you not see it? I'm like, no. And then he points at it. I'm like, oh, like it was perfectly like the angle it was at was
Yeah.
perfectly away from me. So it's like I couldn't see. Like I have an orange knock, and then
Oh,
two
and it
red.
was coated in blood, like
Yeah, it was
just
really,
thick blood.
really, really dark blood. And I've got two red veins and a white vein, which red maybe not the best color, whatever. But
Oh
the
well.
white one helps. But I also have, I mean, my arrows are gray. I run the Carbon Express. Not sure who the maker is of it. I just know that they're the Carbon Express. I could probably tell you if I went and got them. But like I have an orange like sticker taped around it, so that way like it sticks out better, especially if the lights like it's dim outside and like I don't have a lighted knock. So like I can actually see that. But I I got down. I was gonna wait, give her time anyway before I go and find her. I got down like I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I have to get out of this tree or I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
So I got down, like arrow was like like he said, was coated in blood. Like it was dark blood and like really, really thick. So like we thought at the angle that it was at that I probably like ended up going through the heart. So like 5 minutes left until like it's been half an hour, and I'm just like losing it. I'm like still like
Yeah.
really amped up, but now I'm like I'm a little nervous because like the more I look around, like right exactly where the arrow is, like there's not a ton of blood right there on the ground. So I was like, man, this might be a little difficult. Like I really like the nerves start to set in, and it's like a little bit of panic because like you see people were like they make shots where it's like they think it's really good, and then it turns out that's like it was not good at all. So it's
Hmm.
like you get that you kind of get that doubt. And this being my first time, it's like I don't really know what to expect
Hmm.
because like I've killed a lot of deer in my day, but they've all been with rifle. So like I think all but one deer in my life, except for this one, have like it's been like they're dead where they stand,
Hmm.
you know? So like you don't there is no track job.
Right.
Um
I think the biggest thing, like you had said, you blacked out. Looking back on it, you basically blacked out from the point where you started to draw to like seeing her in the peep, and like then it was over. And it's like
yeah.
so many details get lost in our own brains, and like obviously I've been there like a couple of times now, where it's like, what was that detail? I don't remember this. Maybe she was this. Maybe it was more quarter two. No, maybe she was broadside. And it's like, what, like, so then I remember like I like had to slow you down a little bit and like, all right, tell me what you remember. Like, tell me, was she broadside? Like, how far? Like, what did you hear? What did you feel? Like, and it was like, I remember you're like, it felt like a great shot, looked like a great shot. Like it sounded like the thud was good, and then like a couple texts later, it was like, I think I heard her crash. And it's like, okay, like you said you heard her crash. All these things are looking good. Like, I think you're in a good spot. I think
Yeah.
you're in a good spot.
And
And it's like, then you're like, should I get down? No, 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 no. Just
yeah.
wait. Just
Well,
wait. Cause
yeah, and that
I mean, you never know. But
that for sure was like I know to wait. I know and like even like I told myself I'm like I'm gonna get down at least check blood and then like I'm gonna wait. But I know like I know myself. You know me way too well that like if I would have got down and checked blood, I would have gone after her like right away.
yeah.
So like it was very like it was a good learning experience for me to like at least wait for you to get up there before like like even like making a stupid decision like getting down like I'm gonna be in a hurry getting down like I'm not gonna make sure that things are fastened all the way like when I'm getting down and like I could like hurt myself getting out of this tree because like I'm so amped and like so excited to get out and like I was gave myself time like allowed my heart rate to come down a little bit and like still be excited but like be smart about what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So like that is a good point that like had you not called me and like just kind of texted me through it, like it would have been totally different, I think.
Yeah.
Because like you were like, all right, like how was she standing? And I said, well, she was quartering to like it was like 8 yards. Like had to have been like it like I don't know how far it was exactly. I didn't have time to range. I didn't range after the fact, but it was like it was 8 to 10 yards. Like it was freaking close. And I get down and I'm like looking and I'm like, man, I don't see a ton of blood. I'm like, this is not good. So um I had gotten down and I was like, do you want to like sit this tree? He's like, you were like, I mean, yeah, why not? I was like, okay, like just use my sticks and my platform. Like, don't even bother with yours. Like, just get up as quick as you can and like see what happens. Like, I'm gonna track and then I'm gonna be as quiet as I can, like getting her cleaned up and everything. Which, like, I like cleaning her, I was quiet. Getting out of there, I was not.
No,
Like, but
no,
I also did not realize like
impossible.
how close I was. Like when
You might
I
have been 40 to 50 yards
yeah, but
at
like
most.
I got her all dressed up, whatever, and I'm like ready to drag her out, and I start like I turn back because I just kind of lost like my sense of direction. Like when you're tracking, like I'm staring at the ground the entire time, like looking up every now and again, like see if she's around somewhere laying down, and then like I'm staring at the ground until like I get to a point where I see her. But like when I start dragging her out, like I'm walking directly back to you, and you're like, "Is that you or deer?" I'm like, "It's me," and I'm not going the right way. So sorry. So I turned around and went back towards this walking trail, and I was like, "I'm just gonna drag her down this trail all the way down. Like it'll be the easiest way. Like I'm not gonna be just messing with trees or whatever." Which I had to take her over a pretty big down tree to get to this trail, but I was like, it was worth it.
Right.
So like in my head, and you had said something to Brooks about it. It's like, man, I kind of wish he'd hurry up and get out of here. And like one of the primary thoughts in my head was like, I need to get the fuck out of here so that way he can like, I'm not like scaring all these deer out of the woods, you know. So like I felt bad at the time because I'm not trying to ruin his chances. Like I'm trying to get out of here. And like I finally get on the trail, like I'm dragging her down, like I'm doing my best to get down to the creek as fast as possible to like get out of here. And like busted my ass down in the creek. Had to carry her across the creek by myself. Like I've got her strung up like a hog tie, like just like shuffling across this freaking creek, getting her over, like throw her up on the bank, and I'm like just dead. I'm just like just dead to the world. Like get her out of this swampy area because the mosquitoes are starting to get bad again, and like I'm like, no, I'm getting out of here. So
Yeah.
I finally get her to the field
Deja
edge.
vu all over again with those damn
Yeah,
mosquitoes.
it was nuts. So like I'm in a good spot. Like I'm probably 300 yards away from Justin at this point. So like I'm feel good. Like I'm not making much noise anymore because I'm at the field edge, like getting this deer like finally at a point where it's like, all right, like this is awesome. Like this really sucks right now, like dragging her out, but like this is awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's really what it's all about, and it's like makes you feel very accomplished and it's very rewarding. Well, I get to the top of the field, like I'm taking a break finally because I'm like I'm pooped. Like
Yeah.
FaceTime Emily and like talking about it, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get her drug out, get her to the pickup, and then I'm just gonna wait, see what happens for Justin. So I get to the top of the field on this trail, and I get 80 yards from the top of the field, and I feel my phone buzzing. I'm like, who the fuck is calling me? Like just oblivious. And I see it was him, and I was like, oh well, he's probably telling me like he's getting down or he shot a deer. So I'm like, what's up? And he's like, you ready to drag another one? I was like, no fucking way. I said, you're fucking with me. And he's like, nope. I was like, all right. I was like, I'll throw her down. Like, I'll be up there in a minute. He's like, just take your time. She's dead right in front of me. Like, there's no need to hurry up here. I was like, yeah, got it. Hang up the phone, and I'm like sprinting to the nearest tree to hide this freaking deer, and like speed walking back up the hill to him because like we have been cursed since the first time we went pheasant hunting together 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And like we get in this field. It's like a dream pheasant field for public land. And he's like, I've seen birds here before. Like I've hunted here a couple times. So I'm like, cool. And like right across the county road is like they plant birds over there for people to do these. Like they pay to hunt.
Guided hunts. Yeah. Planted
Yeah.
birds.
And
This is in
we're walking.
Kansas.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah. So like we're walking. Like first time we hunted together. Like we talked about this for a few weeks, whatever. And Justin's dog Virgo, like great bird dog. And we're both walking and we both look at her and Justin's like, she's getting birdie. And I was like, yep, because I mean I had a lab growing up, like I know how it is. And then all of a sudden it's like she was in the tall grass and you couldn't really see her, and then all of a sudden she's like 100 yards ahead of us. And
She
just
was gone.
like 30 birds fly up and we're like, oh shit. Like we're both like running through like 3 foot tall grass, like trying to catch up, and he's yelling at her, whistling at her, and I was like, well, that was cool. Kind of sucks though. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's all good. Like, it's honestly like, I get it. I understand. But like, from that time forward, like, we didn't kill shit until last year. Like
Yeah.
last winter, we went duck
Ducks.
hunting, and then that was it in 3 years.
Yeah.
And then like we were like turkey season got close, didn't kill a turkey. Like deer season and like the first few weeks of this year, I was like, I am not going another season without killing a deer. I was like, if I have to pull my rifle out this year, I will. And like for us to have doubled up on the same day in the same tree, less than 2 hours apart, was freaking sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that whole backstory, it's like I mean I haven't really told anybody that side of it because, it's that's our story for sure. And it's like I kind of wanted to wait and share that with you too, because it's like it, we were for sure cursed. Like there was no doubt about it. Just every time we went out into a field, it's like we would walk like a quarter mile in a pheasant field, and like nothing would get up. And then,
Nothing.
um, like we went dove hunting a couple times, and it's like we didn't even see a dove. Like dove opener,
Yeah.
didn't even see a dove. It's like how are we not seeing dove on dove opener? Like what are we
Yeah.
doing? And like you said, the turkeys, it's like close calls, close encounter, but just can't close the deal on it. And then finally it's like ducks, but I mean, like they just happened to come in, or we jump shooted those teal, and it's like, well, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of works, but it's not an ideal like duck hunt, but cool. But yeah, so it was like curse, and we get into 2.5 weeks into deer season, and it's like we just can't get the deer to come in front of us. They go in front of other people we had them patterned, and now they're not doing it. And it's like, oh man, here we go again. And then finally, like
Yeah.
when I got that text, I was like, oh, we do know how to kill something. Okay,
Yeah.
there's
Seriously, we're not
there's a
total
start.
morons.
There's a start. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I've told Brooks, and I told you, like that was a perfect tree. That was the like first thing I said to you. Aside, like I gave you a thumbs up about because it was like the
Oh,
blood on the arrow was like, oh, like that's a dead deer. He has nothing to worry about. You're good.
yeah.
And then like I look up, and it's like I look around. This is a perfect tree.
There's
You
literally not
picked
a better
you
tree in
picked a
the
perfect
entire
tree.
woods.
Yeah.
Like there
Like
is not a better tree.
yeah, especially in that area. I mean, there's like some short trees with big like bushy cover like right underneath it from one side, and then the other side it was open, but you also had some branches kind of covering you a little bit, but it didn't block your lane. So it was like, you know, if a deer gets up underneath you, you have some give to be able to move. And I think that's what happened with mine was she was in those trees and I barely saw her, and I was able to move a little bit better until she got out into that pathway, like that trail, where it was clear. And then at that point it was like I have to be like very subtle with my movements, but like I was able to move a lot more and a lot faster because of that cover. So like that was a huge aspect of like why that tree was even better than just being in a good spot. Like it had good cover and plenty of shooting lanes. Like obviously not 360, but I would say like 270 degrees
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
that tree, you had shooting lanes.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't wide open, but like you have a lane
Right.
here, a lane there, a big opening here, big opening there, and it was
Like
like
it was like to our like I guess you could say like our 2 o'clock to like 6 o'clock was pretty perfect. And then like once you swung over to our right side, it was pretty like you can get it done. It's gonna be kind of hard. But
yeah,
like my biggest thing with that tree is like I kind of walked around to see like I there were branches that I had to be above like when I
hmm
set it up. So I was like, I guess I'm just gonna like scale this tree. Like I'm gonna put my sticks as far apart as my legs will let me. And I think we are probably my platform was probably like 22 or 23 feet off the ground. Like it was up pretty freaking high.
easily, yeah,
And like you even said it, you're like, I mean, you're taller than I am, but not like I'm like an inch or two taller maybe, but like I'm a lot of legs, a lot of
yeah.
legs. And it was like I was having trouble, like my first two sticks especially, and you were like, I didn't think I was gonna make it. I was like, I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, like I did not think I was making it up to that first
Yeah,
step, and then I
yeah,
finally got up there. I'm like, okay, not bad. And then I get to like the next one, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm having to bring my foot like
Yeah,
above my hip. Like, oh, okay.
yeah,
I think we
yeah,
can, I think we can get up there and like
yeah,
swing that lineman rope up and like
yeah.
shimmy up. I'm
Shimmy.
okay.
I,
I'm okay.
I yeah, I find myself in a lot of situations where when I'm climbing, like I'm literally grabbing my knee up to my chest to like pull my foot up as high as possible and like try to step my way up.
Go
I
leverage your
don't
way into a tree.
I don't want to adjust my stick first of all. Second of all, it's like the higher I go,
Yeah.
but
We keep saying it. We probably just need to invest in some sort of aider system, just
yeah,
not to get 50 feet into a tree, but just to make it that much easier in case you set it up like 3 inches too high. Just the
yeah,
comfort level of being like, okay, it's a little higher than I really wanted. Like, okay, now I have this aider and I can get in easier. So, um, higher sometimes is better in I would say rare circumstances, but you know, that's the big reason people use aiders is like to get up higher. Like
yeah,
a lot of them use it for the first step so that they can just set it up and not have to worry about being too high, too low, and like taking away from their final height. And then other people are like, I want that thing for like all of mine have aiders, and I'm getting up like 40 feet in the tree,
yeah,
and
which
I'm
is
having like
obnoxious.
40 yard
Yeah,
shot from 10 yards away.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the other thing, like to kind of go off that, you had talked about it with Brooks, I think in the first episode, was like the ground cover here is absurd. Like there's so much undergrowth in these woods out here, and like there is no like management, but also it's like it's kind of wild how much like you get in these trees and you're like, man, that's a good tree, and then you're like 20 feet in the air, and it's like I literally I have no lanes because it's all these baby trees that are growing and all these branches stemming off of them. It's like
Yeah.
this fucking sucks. So and like I was watching the tethered series on YouTube, and like they're hunting in like Indiana, and it's just like they've got 60-yard lanes and they're in the middle of the woods, and it's like that'd be cool. I wish like I can only do that if I'm sitting on a field edge, but you
Yeah.
know, it's just it's like it's very different out here from like I guess up north Midwest hunting, but also it's like it's super challenging because these areas are so overhunted public ground, and it's like you don't really have anywhere where you can walk 3 miles back to get away from the people. It's like
Yeah.
you're pretty limited with where you can go. You just have to like either be in the right spot at the right time or kind of like come up on a little honey hole. And I think like we did definitely like figured out that I think the deer are for sure bedding up there, but also like they're not very pressured up there because they're also close to houses up
Right.
there. And um like it's very thick and they're very safe up there. Like there's acorns everywhere, and like there's grass for them to eat up there, and like there's water for them. So like they don't have to go all the way down to the creek to get water. They don't have to go all the way down to get food out of these fields. Like they can be totally unbothered up in this area. So
hmm Yeah,
I think
that
we
was one thing I started thinking about. It's like, now that those beans are done and they're probably getting harvested,
yeah,
probably as we
I
speak,
they
you
should
know,
be.
today, because I went out yesterday and I don't know if I told you, but they were harvesting beans down in those fields, and I
Yeah.
thought those ones were not quite as ready as the ones that we've been hunting over or
Yeah,
around.
these ones have been ready for 2 weeks, and
Yeah,
it's
so.
I mean it all depends on the farmer, but
Right. But I just know that there's no green left, so they're not eating that
yeah,
anyways. Like maybe a couple spots on some edges, they were maybe finding a little bit of greenery to eat, but no, I started reverting to the thought of, these deer are just eating the closest acorns to their bed, and with how many trees having acorns are in this area, like they could be 20 yards from their best food source
yeah,
in their bed, like within a 20-yard radius. They don't have to go anywhere other than whenever they want water. And when they want water in that area, it's like, well, which creek or little arm of the creek do I want to go to today. Like
Hmm.
this one that's
Yeah.
50 yards or this one that's 75 or any direction. And it's like at that point, it's like, how do I get into these beds and which, I mean, there's so many different bedding areas. It was, like that was the thing that we just started running into is like, where are they bedding? When are they bedding in that bedding area? When are they in a different bedding area? And how do we get into those bedding areas without blowing out the forest?
Yeah.
Because,
But and,
like,
and that was like where we were set up on opening day. It's like we walked there the weekend before, and we were like, I mean, there's a bed there, there's a bed there, there's a bed there, there's a bed here, there's a bed here, and it's like we are right next to the fields. So like we kind of had a sneaking suspicion that they were bedding like right under our noses, and we didn't really realize it. And then it was like, oh, like it's really thick in here, but like there's also a lot of good cover for them in here, and like they're not far from food. So like that was like they were literally bedding where we were hunting last year, but like we were not looking in the right spots.
right. Yep.
So yeah, it was a good weekend for us.
Yeah.
And Justin, he put together a little compilation of him cutting his deer up, and uh, we did the same thing with mine here. So we spent all day Sunday kind of cutting up, packaging, and doing the butchering ourselves. And that was Emily's first time ever doing that. I've always processed my own deer, so
Yeah.
it was good to like show her how it's done. And it's like it's not super easy, but very rewarding to do.
Yeah.
And like she helped me skin it Saturday night, which like was awesome. Like she got to learn and like got to see it because she just got her hunter safety, and
Hmm.
like she wants to deer hunt this season. So like she's able to see that like it's not super easy, but like it can be, but it's you can also make it enjoyable
Right.
because
And
like
you guys have already had some. You guys had some of your steaks already.
yeah, we had
Well, she's
tenderloins on
had deer
Sunday night
before, though, right?
supper. Yes, yeah, her
Yeah.
brother grew up deer hunting, and her grandpa deer hunting, so she's had
Yeah.
venison before for sure. But it was kind of neat to like share that experience with her.
Yeah.
Um,
And she was more
and
deeply involved with this one.
yeah, and like she was texting me like she kept asking like if needed help, like she could come out, and like I knew that she was dying to get out there. So
Yeah.
after we had got Justin's cleaned up, and I told her I was like, come up, meet us over here in like 10 minutes. And she's like, do you need anything? I was like, no. I was like, just come. And I was like, never mind. We need some water, please.
Oh yeah, we're dying.
Yeah, yeah. And so she came. She brought us some water. She walked in with us, took pictures. Like she she really enjoyed it, and it was pretty awesome to like be able to share that experience with her and like my best friend. So it was like
Yeah. She was rocking my
definitely,
headlamp. She was like, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
headlamp, I'm in it now."
Yeah, yeah. She came out in Tennessee. The Vols beat Alabama, so it was a good day.
Yeah. It was a great day
She
for
was
her.
yeah. She came in with full Vols sweatshirt on, like she was all about it. So
Yeah.
that was pretty awesome to be able to share that with her. And like you, I mean, the whole series of events. It's like some people are just gonna be like, "Wow, it's just kind of like wah wah, boo
Yeah.
hoo." But like
It's a
for
doe hunt. What are we all excited about? Like,
yeah, but like for like the shit that we've been through, and like how hard we actually worked. Like even last year, like we kind of just said like, look, we're like scout hunting. Like we're not like we don't know much about this area. And then like in the off season, spring and summer, like we put the time in, and like we're able to get more involved with these areas and put more boots on the ground and like dedicate whole days into scouting and like just exploring.
hmm
And it worked out for us. So
right.
the rut's going
And
to be here
hopefully
in a
continues
couple
to work
weeks.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a good couple weeks coming up, and we've got youth weekend this weekend, so we get a little weekend off.
Yep. Yeah, so
And
I guess next question, what's next for you? As far as deer hunting or hunting in general, where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do?
I mean, like here, well, this coming weekend's youth weekend. Gonna enjoy the weekend. Next weekend we're in Boston for just a little mini vacay. But after that, we should be right at the start or in like pretty well into the rut. So I'm definitely going to like keep at it and try to get a pretty decent buck.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to be super picky because you can't on public land around here. Because I mean, somebody sees a decent. I mean, it could be a 2.5 year old 8 point. Like that deer is not going to live if he walks in front
Yeah.
of another hunter. And then like frankly, he's not going to live if he walks in front of me either. So because
Exactly.
like I'm like around here, you're not going to have an opportunity at a deer like that because like people just like if I don't shoot it, the next guy will, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
So and also like it's more meat in the freezer, and also it looks pretty cool,
Oh yeah.
just like that one
Yep.
up there. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean you and I are still gonna stay at it, and I hope you learned your lesson yesterday on where you're gonna be hunting because
I looked the wind. I think it's Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday. Is almost exactly the same wind as yesterday and today. And we
yeah,
had pictures come up again today, not of
cool,
the same one, but one of the ones I did see in person was in there.
cool,
So I think what happened is what I believed, and I think what we believed was a doe bed. I think those bucks got in there and they figured out that that little corner is a really good, like, it's a safe spot,
safe
and
haven for sure.
they get to see because it's not super thick, and those more mature bucks, from what I understand, people that are a lot more well versed in deer patterning and whatever, what they say is like, they want areas where they can see and hear and smell everything around them so they know
Hmm.
what to avoid. And so
Yeah.
I think what happened was, and maybe we just caught it at a time where they weren't using it because it wasn't that time of year for them. And so they might have been in a different area. And now that it's back into like closer to hunting season and that time of year, I think those bucks moved into that spot again. Like either
Yeah.
they were there before, because I didn't hunt this unit last year, so I don't know, right? So like maybe that's their hunting season spot, or like the winter, fall and winter spot, and then they go
Yeah.
somewhere else for spring and summer. But I think what happened was when we got in there, it was a doe bed, like only does were using it, and now the Bucks are back. And I think
Yeah.
that's what happened. I don't think it's a year-round doe bed, which does have been in and out of there. Not to say does can't bed in there, but because I mean there was a doe on camera today too, so it's like they're using it. But no, I think it's turned into like the mature buck bed. So I don't
Yeah.
know how
Yeah,
I
for
don't know how
sure.
old this guy is. Like you said, I I don't think you're gonna see very many 5 to 7 year old deer around here,
No.
especially
No.
bucks. You might see some older does just because it, and I was listening to another podcast. It's like people just aren't taking does, like anywhere, not just here. Like people just don't want to shoot does, and
Yeah.
it's leading to like population problems. And
Oh, big time.
yeah,
Here, I mean, it's bad here. Really
yeah,
bad.
there's a reason you get three a day. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason. So
Yeah.
just nobody shoots does, and that's why you might run across an old doe. I don't know how old that doe that I shot was. We thought
Old.
mine was a couple years, maybe a couple years older than yours, but which is good. Take out a mature doe. But
Yeah, I mean, like the
yeah,
first thing I noticed when I walked up to her was like, that's an old deer. Like
yeah,
she's freaking old. Just by you could tell by like how dark her face was and like just like the mouth and like that deer, she was freaking old. And I
yeah,
mean, it's nothing wrong with that. But
right,
like
for sure.
even she was just a little bit heavier than mine. It's like you could tell that she's been around for a while.
Yeah, but
So
no, as far as the Bucks go, like you said, I don't think they're living past 3.5, 4.5, unless
yeah,
they are a very smart big deer
yeah.
and
Which
like dominant
that
deer.
that
I
old
mean,
boy last night might be.
he could be. He could be.
You sent me a picture. I was like, got some ass to him. So I don't know
Yeah,
what you're doing, but I'd be hunting that one.
yeah. We'll see. Maybe this might be the start of the story between he and I. I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm thinking I'm gonna. I mean, if I get a chance at him, like you said, if I get a chance at him this year, I'm taking him.
yeah.
I'm not.
Because I
I'm
mean,
not gonna.
you were close last night, even after he showed up on camera.
Yeah. So where I think my camera might have been like 80 to 100 away from me, but through a field and into the woods, and then where he came out, I had him ranged at like 82, but he went at a different angle, so he didn't come straight at me. So, um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I showed that same picture of the trail cam to my boss, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta let him pass." I'm like, "I'm on public land." The
Oh,
like the next guy that sees this deer
yeah,
in legal shooting light is taking him. Like I if he is, I am, and that's just and he's a good
yeah,
deer. So he's a good deer now. I know in 2 years he's gonna be a great deer, but like he's a good deer now, so I might go ahead and just take what I
yeah.
can get.
Sorry, we're not Seek One status where we're seeing 220-inch deer at every corner you turn, somebody's
Right.
backyard.
Which I mean,
But
that's proof that they do exist, but
oh yeah,
we're just not where we're
yeah.
at.
Now, even the one I saw today driving home, like there's a there's a field of private property near where I live, and I see like minimum 20 does in this field every single night driving home from work. And tonight I was driving by, and I always slow down because like I want to look, whatever. And I saw a buck in this field, and I was like, that was really big deer because he was like 150 yards off the road, and it's like noticeable. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm gonna turn around and go look at him again. And I actually like stopped, took a picture of him, and sent it to Justin. I was like, that's a pretty nice fucking deer.
Yeah, it
And
is.
but yeah, so they're around. I mean, they are around, and like we see pictures of people posting in these Facebook groups on Facebook. Like there are big deer around here. We just gotta find them,
Yeah.
or hope that one just like kind of stumbles into the wrong area one day. You
Harder to
know?
find in public land. Like
Yeah,
seek
for
one
sure.
guys that they're hunting private by permission, and
Yeah,
those deer might come across some public land, but typically they're not in areas where they can get hunted by Tanner and I. Without, I mean, we
yeah,
could. I'm sure if we wanted to, we could go around and do the door knocking thing. That's just not really who we are. We're a little too shy and timid
yeah,
for all that. We'll just stick to ourselves in the woods and not
yeah. I'm
not try to
this
ruffle any feathers.
even doing this is kind of a leap for me because I'm not the most social human being on the planet, but I can be. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but this was this was fun, and hopefully we can get one done with Brooks if
yep,
he can get on before my bedtime.
right. Yeah, I mean we're already creeping up on it. I'm gonna go grind up
Yeah,
our meat tonight.
there you go.
We went and got a pork butt to mix in with it.
Nice.
So um, wanted to wait and get that purchased and whatever to grind it all together. So we're about to go do that. But yeah, let's get Brooks on a podcast, all three of us, and we'll talk getting him out here and us out
Yeah,
there, and we'll
Brooks, get out here now.
Brooks. The invitation is in place. Come hunt some deer, come hunt some ducks. Fall turkeys
Yeah,
here. I mean, there's the opportunities are endless over here.
yeah, yeah. I want to see Brooks try to call some ducks. That's what I want to see.
Yes.
So that way somebody can be worse at calling them than me.
Somebody's got to be the worst in the group.
Yeah, and I'm tired of being that one. So, all
Yeah,
right.
lots to look forward to this season.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think we'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening. Full Fletch podcast. If you want some custom archery arrows, go to fullfletcharchery.com. Fill out a request form or a contact us form, and you'll get a hold of me. Or you can reach out to me directly, Justin at fullfletcharchery.com. And yeah, I'm the only one that you can email. So if you're hearing from somebody, you're hearing from me. We'll get
Yeah.
you set up with
And
some custom arrows.
the arrow I killed my deer with, he built it for me. So just saying.
Just saying. Just
Yeah,
saying. They work.
they
And I
work.
did build my own,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
we're
So we're two for
we're
two.
2 for 2 in the same day.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
All right.
yeah, that'll wrap it up. Thanks for
Let's do
listening.
it.